You want to win, right? Then stop lying to yourself. Stop clinging to that fairy tale that says the world is fair, that hard work always gets rewarded, that people will treat you the way you treat them. That's not how this game works. That's not how power operates. The first law of Machiavellian intelligence is ruthless clarity. You have to strip away the filters, cut through the noise, and look at life with eyes wide open. Not through the lens of comfort or optimism, but through the raw, unsanitized truth of how people actually operate when nobody's watching. Most people are sleepwalking through life. They move on autopilot, reciting values they never tested, trusting rules they never questioned. They're trained to believe in fairness, in decency, in karmic justice, because that's what keeps them easy to control. The more you believe in a world where good always wins, the easier it is for those who know better to take everything from you. While you're playing checkers, they're 10 steps deep into a chess game you didn't even know existed. And guess what? You're the pawn, and pawns don't survive, they're sacrificed. So open your eyes, the people around you. They have motives. Most of them won't say what they mean. They'll shake your hand with one and hide a blade in the other. They'll talk loyalty while they plot leverage. You think they love you for who you are. No, they love what they can get from you. That's not cynicism, that's observation. The moment you accept this, you begin to see patterns. You begin to see how influence flows, how fear shapes decisions, how manipulation wears the mask of charm. Reality is not warm, it's cold. It doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care how much effort you put in. It responds to leverage, to timing, to execution. People don't respect kindness. They exploit it. They don't admire vulnerability. They weaponize it. This is not about being evil. This is about being aware. You can't win a war if you don't know you're in one. And every day, whether you accept it or not, you are in a war. A war for your time, your energy, your identity. If you don't fight smart, you'll end up building someone else's kingdom while yours burns to the ground. The world rewards those who can adapt. It respects those who see what others deny. If you walk into a negotiation thinking the other side is going to play fair, you've already lost. If you lead with trust instead of caution, you'll get crushed. If you speak honestly while they spin lies, you'll be out, maneuvered before you know what hit you. This isn't paranoia. This is survival. The Machiavellian mind doesn't assume the best in others. It calculates risk. It maps the terrain. It anticipates betrayal not with fear, but with readiness. That's what ruthless clarity gives you, an edge. It lets you see how the world actually functions, not how society pretends it does. And once you see it, once you stop filtering the world through wishful thinking, you stop being a victim. You stop being surprised when people disappoint you. You stop wasting energy expecting fairness, and instead, you start building systems of power that protect you. You start playing offense instead of defense. You stop crying about how things should be, and start dominating the way things are. You've been told to feel your emotions, let them out, express them, let the world know what's in your heart. That advice will break you. Because in the real world, the one Machiavelli understood emotions are landmines, and the more openly you display them, the easier it is for someone to blow your life apart. They're watching how you react. Every time you flinch, every time you raise your voice, every time you show fear or frustration, they're taking notes, not because they care, but because they're planning their next move. The truth is, emotions are natural, but they're not supposed to be your guide. They're supposed to be your fuel. You have to learn to feel everything, but react to nothing. That's the paradox of control. The weak are driven by impulse. They speak when they should stay silent. They lash out when they should observe. And once you act on raw emotion, you've already surrendered the battlefield. You've shown your opponent your blueprint. You've handed over your power. That's how you get played. That's how you lose respect, position, leverage. But when you can sit in pain, stare into rage, swim in chaos, and still not move until the right moment. Now you're a threat. Now you're dangerous, because people can't control what they can't predict. Power isn't found in the scream. It's found in the silence before it. It's not the one who rants who wins. It's the one who calculates. Emotional control is the first mark of a tactician. It's not about suppressing your emotions until you explode. That's weakness in disguise. It's about transforming raw energy into precision focus. It's taking the anger, the betrayal, the humiliation, and turning it into cold strategy. You don't run from the fire. You sit in it. You master it. That's what makes you untouchable. That's what makes you rise while everyone else crumbles under pressure. Look around. The people at the top aren't the loudest. They're not the most reactive. They're composed, unshaken, always watching. While others are whining about how unfair things are, they're planning 3 steps ahead. They're listening more than they speak. They're letting fools reveal themselves. And when the time is right, they strike, not with emotion, but with certainty. That's Machiavellian intelligence. That's dominance without chaos. The game of life punishes those who can't regulate their state. You think someone's going to hand you a crown because you feel deeply, because you care. No, the world doesn't respond to your heart. It responds to your composure, your ability to adapt under pressure, to make ruthless decisions without falling apart, to lead without needing validation. And the only way to do that is to become the master of your internal battlefield. People want to manipulate you. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's instinctual, but make no mistake, they will test you, they'll provoke you, they'll bait you into reaction, and the second you fall for it, you've given them control. That's why your silence is your strength. Your calm is your shield. When others are emotionally drowning, you become the anchor. You become the one who doesn't fold, the one who doesn't show weakness, even if he feels it burning inside. This isn't about becoming numb. It's about becoming precise. Your emotions still live within you, but they answer to you. You decide when to show them, when to use them. You're not a puppet dancing to the strings of anger, fear, sadness. You're the one holding the strings, because once your emotions are under your rule, nothing outside of you can dictate your behavior. You become the storm they didn't see coming, the man who feels everything but bows to nothing. Most people think power is about truth, about being right, about having the facts on your side. But that's a lie the weak believe to make themselves feel better about losing. Power doesn't care about truth. Power follows perception. It flows to those who control the narrative, not those who speak the most honestly. That's the harsh lesson nobody teaches you growing up. The truth alone will not save you. But perception, weaponized and aimed with precision, can destroy your enemies, elevate your position, and protect your throne. You don't need to be the strongest. You don't need to be the smartest. You need to be the one they believe is the strongest, the most composed, the most dangerous. That's the trick. That's the mind game. People see what you show them, and they build stories around it. They fill in the blanks. If you let them see desperation, they'll assume you're weak. If you let them see rage, they'll assume you've lost control. But if you train yourself to stay cool, to keep your voice calm, to let your face tell them nothing, they won't know how to read you. And when they can't read you, they can't control you. It's not enough to be dangerous. You have to know when to appear harmless, when to shrink your presence, when to play the fool so that the real predator inside you stays hidden until it's time to strike. That's what people never understand about deception. It's not about lying all the time. It's about managing what others think they know about you. Let them think they have you figured out. Let them underestimate you. Then flip the switch. It's not betrayal. It's survival. You become the architect of your reputation. You create an illusion strong enough that it acts as armor. Maybe you look calm and composed, so people never expect the violence in your strategy. Maybe you act friendly and harmless, so no one sees your ambition until you've already taken what they thought was theirs. Whatever the role is, you choose it. You become an actor in your own war theater, but every move is real, every smile is a test, every word is a setup. You're not being fake, you're being strategic. Control over perception is how kings rise without ever drawing a sword. How leaders emerge in silence, without noise or desperation. It's how you become untouchable without ever having to say a word. You don't convince people to follow you with facts. You shape how they feel when they're around you. Make them feel protected, or make them feel intimidated. Make them feel like you always know something they don't. The feeling is more powerful than any argument. People want certainty. They're drawn to confidence, to composure, to the illusion of mastery. They don't care if you're right. They care if you look like you know where you're going. So you never break character. You never let them see behind the curtain. You may be tired, bleeding, breaking inside. But on the outside, you're still the storm they can't predict. That mystery, that edge, that's leverage, that's power. The ability to shape what people think about you is more dangerous than brute force. You control the story they tell about you in their head, and eventually, that story becomes the truth they act on. You don't have to reveal your cards to win the game. You just have to make them think you've got a better hand. You could be bluffing, you could be holding nothing, but if your face stays unreadable, if your tone never shakes, if your posture never slouches, they'll fold long before you do. Most people hesitate. They flinch before the moment. They wait for permission, for signs, for consensus. But the Machiavellian mind doesn't ask, it moves. It strikes. It executes. The difference between dominance and defeat comes down to one thing: decisive, calculated action. Not random effort, not scattered energy. Cold, clear, surgical execution. You don't move just to move, you move because you've already run the scenario 100 times in your head. You already know the outcome. And by the time they're reacting, you're already halfway to the next play. The world belongs to those who act while others analyze. Most people drown in hesitation, crippled by fear of making the wrong move. So they sit, they wait, they waste time, and in that delay, they lose. Every second you delay is a second someone else gains ground on you. Every opportunity you pause to overthink is an opportunity taken by someone who doesn't need to feel ready to act. You will never be ready. Readiness is an illusion. Precision is real. You don't need to feel confident. You need to be willing to move with control when everyone else is stuck in doubt. Calculated action doesn't mean recklessness. It means everything you do has purpose. Every word, every silence, every movement. Intentional. You play the long game. You think like a strategist, not a gambler. You don't broadcast your plan. You don't announce your ambition. You just move one piece at a time until you've checkmated the entire board and nobody saw it coming. And when they finally realize what you've built, it's too late. You already own the space they were still debating whether or not to enter. This level of control requires clarity. You have to know your terrain. You have to understand the people around you, their motives, their weaknesses, their patterns. You don't just act, you study, you observe. You become a ghost, watching from the shadows, learning every detail. Then, when it's time to act, you strike with precision so sharp it looks effortless, but it wasn't. It was calculated, deliberate, earned through patience and preparation. Every win was designed before it happened. This is where most people fall apart. They want power, but they don't want the pressure of responsibility. They want success, but they don't want the burden of planning every move. They want freedom, but they're too afraid to choose. Decisiveness is power because it signals authority. People follow those who move with certainty. People listen to the one who doesn't stutter when the pressure mounts. Even if they don't agree with your decision, they respect your ability to make it. Machiavellian intelligence means owning every consequence. No blaming, no excuses. If the move fails, you take the hit and move again. If it works, you build on it immediately. There's no celebrating too long. No pausing to reflect for validation. You operate on momentum. You act, you adjust, you advance. And while everyone else is frozen, trying to perfect their next step, you've already taken 10 more. You don't need perfect. You need progress. You don't need guarantees. You need the nerve to act in the dark and trust that your preparation will carry you through the fire. This is the battlefield of life, and it doesn't reward the loudest or the kindest. It rewards the most precise. The ones who know exactly when to speak and when to stay silent. The ones who don't waste energy chasing everything. They pick their targets. They plan their approach. They execute without hesitation. There's a reason some men lead empires while others can't even lead themselves. One group reacts to life. The other group shapes it. One group begs for direction. The other creates their own path through the chaos and carves their name into history with every move they make. Legacy is not given. It's not inherited. It's carved out of struggle, war, betrayal, and relentless self-discipline. Most people are so obsessed with being liked that they forget to be remembered. They want comfort now, peace now, validation now, and in doing so, they give up the only thing that truly matters: control over how they're remembered when they're no longer around to speak for themselves. That's the final principle of Machiavellian intelligence. Your legacy must be engineered, not hoped for. It's not built in your words. It's built in your moves, in your victories, in the empire you leave behind. The weak want to be understood. The powerful want to be studied. And that's the difference. You don't need everyone to get you. You need your results to echo long after your name has left their mouths. Machiavelli understood that greatness doesn't come from being good. It comes from being strategic. Morality is optional. Discipline is not. You don't have to play fair. You have to play smart. And if you want your legacy to matter, it has to be forged in fire, earned through sacrifice, shaped by every brutal decision you are willing to make when others back down. You have to be willing to walk alone. Most legacies are lost because the man chasing them was too scared to offend, too scared to act without applause. But history doesn't care how nice you were. It cares about impact. Were you a force of nature? Did you bend the world to your will, or did you beg the world to love you and end up forgotten? The truth is, your name will be remembered not for your intentions, but for your results. Not for how much you cared, but for how far you pushed when nobody else would. Building legacy demands obsession. It demands a mind that never shuts off, a heart that doesn't beat for praise, but for conquest. You don't get to coast. You don't get to wait for the right mood or perfect timing. Every moment is a test. Every setback is a forge. You want to be remembered, then outlast everyone, outthink them, outgrind them. Make sure that even your enemies are forced to respect what you built. Because at the end of this game, respect is worth more than love. Fear lasts longer than admiration, and power, once claimed, will echo louder than any compliment you ever received. People will try to define you. They'll box you in. They'll try to limit your name to what makes them comfortable. But legacy doesn't belong to the living. It belongs to time. And if you've done it right, if you've played your role with precision, intensity, and clarity, your influence will outlive their opinion. They may not like you. They may not even understand you, but they'll never forget you. That's the mark of real power. That's what the greats understood. You don't write your legacy with soft hands and kind smiles. You write it with scars, with silence, with moves that make the world shift. And this doesn't happen by accident. You have to cultivate it. You have to design the narrative. You have to decide what your name will stand for long after your voice is gone. That means saying no to weakness. That means cutting off distractions, cutting off people who waste your time, cutting off habits that slow your momentum. Legacy doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the pressure, in the blood, in the discipline of day after day of doing what others refuse to do. Not for attention, not for praise, but for something bigger. Something that can't be stolen, erased, or manipulated by opinion. Because when it's all said and done, when the noise dies down and the world forgets most of the people it once obsessed over, your name will either rise from the ashes or vanish with the rest. And the only thing that determines which it will be is how ruthlessly you built it. You've just been handed the blueprint, not for living a good life, but for living a life that leaves marks, scars, echoes. This isn't about playing it safe, fitting in, or waiting your turn. It's about thinking like a tactician, moving like a weapon, and winning like a king. The world doesn't hand out crowns. You take them. You don't rise by chance. You rise by force, by strategy, by relentless execution. And if you want to be remembered, if you want your legacy etched into time, then you need to stop hoping, stop hesitating, and start dominating. Every move is a test. Every second is war. So armor up, stay silent, stay focused, and when the world expects you to fall, execute.